Beyond. Today our host is Abby Milam, and we will be talking about the new school and food. And now to the studio for the program.
Good morning. My name is Abby Milam. I will be your host today for Vista and Beyond. I've got a couple of really great guests, I think, today. We're going to be talking a little bit about education and then a little bit about food. So we're going to start with Nancy. Nancy Lang is the head of school for the new school in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I'm just going to have her introduce herself and talk a little bit about education and your background and all of those good things.
Okay, sure. Thanks for having me, Abby. This is fun. Well, actually, I've been in education for over 25 years, but I started my career in the military. I actually started in the Air Force out of college, and then transitioned to my first job in education was teaching middle school. And I think that was appropriate after coming out of the military. And then I actually moved, I grew up and then moved back to New England, where I worked at a boarding school there for 25 years. And in New England, independent schools, public schools, charter schools coexist as part of a really vibrant educational community. So when I say boarding school, it's important that I define that these are schools that students choose to go to for wonderful educational opportunities, and it's just a place, it's residential. So while I was there, I was what you kind of call the triple threat. I would teach, I was a math teacher by career, taught, I coached, I lived in the dormitory and worked with high school students for 20 plus years, which was really fun. I raised my family there.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
And that you also have day students as well at a boarding school, right? Or is that?
Yes, at our school we did. And I was at a school in Andover, Massachusetts called Phillips Academy. And yes, we had boarders and day students.
Okay.
Yes, and so I lived most of my life in an apartment attached to a dormitory, living among high school students, which was really exciting.
What was that like?
It was 24/7, but it was great. It was a great way to raise my children.
I bet.
Yeah.
And they, as a result, got probably a really good education as well.
I think so.
Right?
I think so, because I think education happens outside the classroom.
Right, as well.
You know, as well, and sometimes even more so.
I believe that's true too. And so now you've been at the new school for about a year now, right?
Almost a year.
And how did you make your way to Northwest Arkansas?
Right, yeah, it sounds kind of like an odd path, but what happened is my husband actually grew up in Wyoming, so we moved from Massachusetts to Wyoming, where I was a head of a small school in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, a school part of Teton Science Schools. And I really enjoyed that work of teaching and learning and leading a day school. And so when it came time for me to look for a new position, I started looking, and I really discovered this gem in Fayetteville called the New School, and that's what drew me here. So I joined the New School community in the summer, in July of 2019, and so and the interesting thing about the New School is it's a school for 1-year-olds through 12th graders, and although it's called the New School, it's actually, we're coming up on our 50th year.
Right.
So it started as an early childhood education school, and then kind of grew, adding grades as there was demand. And then 4 years ago, the board made a courageous decision to build a few new buildings and grow a high school. So we actually are graduating our first class of seniors this spring.
That's
really
amazing.
Exciting.
And I also am a New School alum, which you know, so class of 82, kindergarten. But it's a wonderful school, and you do a wonderful job there, and it's really neat. And that's going to take me into my next part. I would like to talk a little bit about what sets the New School apart, and why independent schools are important, and those type of things.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, to me, the hallmark of independent education is a blend of academic rigor and character development. And I think that you would find that most independent schools would say those two things are very important to them. Right. And then it's really what your mission is, and then how you deliver on that academic program and character development. And so the New School's mission is to provide a well-rounded experience for all students, and then to inspire a love of lifelong learning. Right. So you hear that we really care more about the process and the person and the child and how they learn. And so I think one of the really special things is that there's this progression from early childhood through high school where the student is really at the center of the education and the learning experience.
Right, and it's not just a box, a one-size-fits-all box, and very rigid. And I love that about education. And I don't have children, but education is still an important thing to me, and I think it's an important thing for our community and our country and everything, every aspect of our society. I guess my next question was how public and private schools kind of coexist and help each other and those kind of things.
Sure. One of the, so independent schools are accredited by associations that are part of what's called the National Association of Independent Schools. So there's this organization that's almost 2,000 schools strong across the country, and there are more outside the United States, but that's just in the United States.
Those are the independent schools, the 2,000 independent schools, okay.
And members of this organization, and then we're accredited by our regional associations. So we have very high standards, we're held to very high standards, but we're not told how we have to meet those standards. So independent schools have a little bit more freedom to be a little bit nimble, to innovate, to allow teachers and give teachers some autonomy in the classroom. So there's not, they're not handed a curriculum. They might be able to have a lot of choice in their curriculum. They might even design their curriculum as long as it meets the standards. So because of that, a lot of what independent schools do is explore and innovate in education, and then a lot of those trends you'll find expand into public schools, charter schools, everywhere. And so in my opinion, private schools exist, or independent schools is what I like to say, because we're not connected to any other faith or anything like that. We're just through this association.
And the freedom, right? You have a little, the freedom is probably what sets
the independence,
apart. The independence,
right. I think that independent schools exist to make education better for all.
Right.
And I think that's really important.
I do too. That's really neat. Okay, cool. I think that another point I wanted to touch on was, and I know this isn't your area, but colleges and I guess apprenticeships versus everyone going to college, especially now that college tuition is so expensive and a lot of people can't afford to go. And I just wanted to get your thoughts basically on if everyone should go to college, or if, in Europe, I spent some time in Europe. I went to culinary school there and things like that. So I noticed that a lot of kids started really early in the workforce and kind of figured out what their path was, and maybe it wasn't college and maybe it was. So can you talk a little bit about that and what your thoughts are just on that?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. I am not an expert on this, but I will say, and I've spent my time in schools that we call ourselves college prep.
Okay.
So first I want to explain that college prep really, to me and to my colleagues and to the schools that I've been in, is not about just college admissions. College prep is about preparing students to succeed in college and beyond.
Life. Just in
Absolutely. Life. And so, there's so many students that go off to college and they're just not ready. The completion rate for colleges have just dropped. So I think that
I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah.
And I think that, when you look at the statistics of how many students make it past freshman year to sophomore year, that in and of itself has really dropped as well. And so preparing students for college, I think, is important, but the point there is that their path to college or their path around college might be different. So I think internships and apprenticeships are phenomenal. Yeah. I think credentialing programs where individuals learn to develop a passion.
What is a credential? Tell me again.
Well, really any program that would teach them and give them credentials. So you might not be working toward a bachelor's degree. You might be working toward credentials in your field, right? So I think a lot of schools offer those. So I would just say that no, I don't think everybody has to go to college.
Right.
But I do think preparing people to learn in really authentic ways prepares them for a college experience. We want to teach children to be, personally, I like hanging out with adults who are independent, confident, and resilient.
Sure.
And if we're going to hang out with adults who are like that, we have to raise our children to be that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So when we're preparing students for college or life, those are the skills that I think we're looking at.
That's great. That's great. Okay, let's see. What else were we going to get into? I think one of my favorite subjects is food. So importance of food and learning, and I think just how it prepares children and gives them some stability and all of that. What are your thoughts on food and its role in education, if you have any?
Well,
Just going to throw you completely out of the education game there.
Sure, it's a good transition to food. Well, first of all, I think that academic rigor and wellness not only can exist, I think academic rigor can't exist without wellness. So if our students are not fed, sleeping,
right,
feeling emotionally safe, then they're not able to learn to their capacity. So I think it's really important that we are providing healthy fuel for our children so that they can learn.
Wonderful. Great. Nancy, thank you so much. I have loved talking with you, and the new school is so wonderful. They do such a great job. I'm there a lot since I work there also. But go on the website and check them out. I believe they have everything, thenewschool.org.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Oh, let's see, we have a couple more things to talk about. Did we talk about college prep?
We did a little bit. I'm happy to expand on that one.
Okay. I think that's it. I think we're out of time now.
Going to break?
I think we're going to go to a quick break. Thanks.
Tangerine, she is all they claim, with her eyes of night and lips like burning flame. Tangerine, when she dances by, senoritas stare and caballero sigh. And I've seen toast to tangerine raised in every bar across the Argentine. Yeah, she's got them all on the run, but she's only fooling just one. She's only fooling Tangerine.
That's true.
Look at me. I'm as helpless as a kitten up a tree, and I feel like I'm clinging to a cloud I can't understand. I get misty just holding your hand. Walk my way, and 1,000 violins begin to play. Or it might be the sound of your hello, that music I hear. I get misty.
Folks, that's just a sample from Baby Blue Presents. Keep in mind, they are airing every Saturday night at 7 p.m. It's a great program. There's many great programs on Bella Vista TV. And we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with my next guest, Simon Brown, who's an executive chef, and we're going to talk about food.
We will be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Here is our host, Abby.
Hi, welcome back. So our next guest is going to be Simon Brown. He is the executive chef at the Blake Street House in Bentonville. Very cool. We have worked together in the past, so this is going to be fun to catch up, and you can tell us all about the food that you've been doing and all that stuff. But go ahead and give us an introduction first and tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and what you do and all of those fun things.
Well, first, thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're
welcome. This was a great honor.
Yeah.
My name is Simon. I am the executive chef at Blake Street House in Bentonville. As you can tell, I'm not from this area. I'm originally from Dundee, Scotland.
Nice.
I've been living in the States now for almost 9 years.
That's cool.
Living the American dream.
Right.
I'm loving it.
Do you love Northwest Arkansas? You've been here a year or so now?
I've been just over a year.
Just over a year.
Started off in Louisiana and then made my way to Mississippi and now in Northwest Arkansas, and now I'm done.
You're set.
I'm set.
That's nice. That's good. I imagine there's a lot of similarities between the Highlands here and the Highlands that you come from in Scotland.
Yes, probably if you cut the temperature by another 30 degrees
No.
and put a lot more snow on and a lot more rain, and then you'd be in the Highlands in
In
Scotland.
the Highlands.
Yep.
Nice, nice. Well, tell us a little bit about what you do at Blake Street and what Blake Street is. I think a lot of people don't know.
Well, as I said, I'm the executive chef there, so I'm in charge of all the menu work and the food work alongside my great team. Blake Street is something in itself. It is probably the world's first social wellness members club, where members get to engage in their community. They push for their own personal best, and they want to know all about wellness. And with the food side, we like to push like the whole nutritional fact on food. So when you come in, you know that you're not just coming in for a meal. You're coming in and you're actually gaining education about food, gaining education about
your
nourishment,
mind and body. And
exactly. So we do all our food is based around what benefits the body, not just what benefits your stomach.
That's so cool, and it's so important, especially now. I think with so many processed foods and things that you don't even think are processed that have so many preservatives and chemicals and crazy things in it. I know that a lot of people are really starting to pay attention to what they eat and how it affects their body and their mind and all of those things.
Exactly.
So it's important work.
Exactly. With processed foods, even with some foods that claim themselves to be healthy, the amount of process that goes into that food is actually worse for you than what a piece of bacon is.
Absolutely.
And you will not believe. So
Full of
it's
sugar and
sugar
things like that.
and fake products, chemicals.
Right.
Chemicals. For instance, like diet sodas.
Right.
They are the worst thing for you in the world.
Yeah.
But it's been a great journey actually studying what goes into the nourishment like for your body, rather than just preparing a dish and it tastes great.
Right.
So it's been definitely a fun journey.
It is fun to take something that's healthy, that we normally tend to think of healthy as doesn't taste very good or boring or whatever, and it's nice to turn something that's healthy into something that's amazing that people don't even know that I'm eating healthy.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's very rewarding, I'm sure.
Very rewarding,
Yeah.
definitely.
And Blake Street House, tell us a little bit more about Blake Street House and what it's a membership only club, right?
Yeah, it's a private wellness members club where I said we have our 3 goals, where it's community support, personal wellness, and the greater good. So like with the community support, how can you engage within your community? How can you support your local community, like to make the best that it can be?
Right.
The same with your personal best. How can you be at your very best, whether it be mentally, physically? How can I eat better? How can I go to a yoga class?
Right, and y'all do yoga and things like that there well, right?
Yeah, we do yoga classes, bar classes, HIIT classes, but it's a lot more fun, and we're trying to take the judgment sort of out of it, to think anybody can join this class. We want you to be your personal best, whatever that
version is.
Yep. Socially,
That's cool.
physically, we're the only club in Arkansas that has a 100-foot ozone pool, which means that there's no chlorine in it, which means that it's something pretty cool.
That's amazing. That's super cool. And what is your favorite dish that you're doing right now at Blake Street House?
Well, my team and myself, like we're working on the spring menus just now. So there's some exciting dishes coming up. But another cool thing as well is I never thought I'd have so much fun preparing vegetarian and vegan food.
It is. It's fun to do.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
Getting back to your roots, kind of, I mean, this is kind of where we all come from, and getting back to that is, I'm sure, really interesting.
Well, exactly. Like I come in from like butchery classes and all that and all that kind of good jazz to actually going back to like plant-based menus. So especially with some of our members coming in that are vegetarian or vegan, when you go to some restaurants, they're kind of like an afterthought. But some of the members come in and go, wait a minute, this is vegan?
Right.
Like, that's vegan. We've actually spent the time and the research to go in to make this dish. And like, yeah, you
something special in its own right, instead of just throwing some side vegetables on a plate and here you go.
Exactly. So
it's
cool. It's been a lot of fun.
That's cool. And in this process, I know you've gone to a lot of local farms and farmers markets and things like that. You want to tell us a little bit about your experience?
That has been awesome. You never lied. There were so many great farmers and producers up here in Northwest Arkansas. At Blake Street, we use, I think we're up to 27. Local
That's so cool.
farmers and local producers, everything from breads to lamb to microgreens. We have our own microgreen farmer in Rogers.
And cheese and things like that too, even, right?
Cheeses from Winslow, Arkansas, from White River Creamery.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. So our menu is, I would say, a good 95% locally sourced.
Locally sourced. And what percentage would you say is plant-based or vegetarian, or?
I would say a good 45%.
45%?
Good 45%.
And how many people do you feel like most people are moving towards that trend of eating more plant-based and more healthy? I mean, what percentage of people would you say are moving towards that?
I would probably say I'd probably say like maybe like 50%. They of course they will still eat meat, but they'll want to see all the nutrients and what can be made from all the different vegetables that are available here in Northwest Arkansas. Of course, like there's the big factories that are made to feed the world. Like we understand that.
Sure.
But also we want to showcase all of our farmers that we have here in Northwest Arkansas. I mean, that's their livelihood.
Right.
That's what they do to present this product. So we want to take that product and showcase it to everyone.
And help the community and help the people that are eating and, and all of those fun things. That's really cool. So just aside from the restaurant, what's your favorite dish? Is it a Scottish dish? Is it
I mean, well, you can't beat haggis. Come on.
And what is haggis?
If you take the Louisiana boudin, it's very similar, but it's with lamb instead of pork.
It's a sausage.
Well, it can be a sausage, but normally it's what we call a pudding.
A pudding.
But it's not like a pudding that you get over here. So it's just like a big meatball.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's like a meatloaf.
Kind of like a meatloaf, yeah.
Like a lamb sausage meatloaf.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So you're going to have to come back next time and actually make the food for us all to try here. Have a little haggis. So what else goes into haggis? Haggis is just a big sausage, and then is there anything that goes with it? Or is it?
A lot of offal goes into it. Oats, a lot of pepper, and a lot of herbs.
What's offal?
Yes.
What is this?
So the liver, the heart, the kidneys. Pretty much there's no waste.
That's awesome too. That's another thing, as far as I know, you said you've been to a lot of butchers and things like that around too, and it's, super important to, teaching people also, that we've become so distanced from our food, I think, and, we eat so much meat, and I think that's partly because we've disassociated with it. You know what I mean? So we don't think about what goes into killing and slaughtering an animal and taking it apart and all of those things. And using the whole animal, I think, is super important.
That's another thing as well as waste is a lot of people. And I know like few chefs around the world. They just go for the prime cuts.
Right.
Like the way we were trained was you go for the other cuts because you're going to get a great price on them.
Sure.
And show them the love that you would show like a prime cut.
Right.
So you'll come up with some amazing dishes. So the next time, if you're ever at a farmer's market and you see somebody selling their meat, go up and ask them. Go up and ask them what cut do you not sell the most? Buy it from them because they'll probably give you a really good price for it, and just play with it.
And then just try to make something cool.
Try to make something. And if it doesn't taste good, well, guess what? You can always try again.
Nice. So now that you're in Northwest Arkansas and you're fully part of the community, tell us a little bit about what you like to do here. I know you do some riding on the trails and things like that, and just taking advantage of all the things that Northwest Arkansas has to offer now. And I think too, it's interesting to me that and it's one of my favorite things about being from Arkansas is that we're so diverse and there's people from all over the world, and I love that, and I would like to get your perspective on what is neat about
Well, what's phenomenal, especially about up here in Northwest Arkansas and the whole diverse community, is it's kind of like being back in Glasgow.
Nice.
Like I met my wife, my American wife, back in Glasgow, and that's the reason I'm here now. But I wasn't even from Glasgow. I was from Dundee on the other side of Scotland, and I moved to Glasgow for work. So everyone I met, nobody was from there, but everyone had a story on why they were there. And this is what reminds me, like when I'm up here in Northwest Arkansas, is a lot of people aren't really from Northwest Arkansas, but they've come here for a reason, and they have a story. So it's a great way to learn about everyone's past,
right.
and why they're here, because there's
and
a
why
reason.
they stay.
Exactly, and there's a reason why they're here and why they stay.
Right.
But I love about Northwest Arkansas. It's so green. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see hills and mountains again, and go hiking and go out on my bike, especially with my son. And we take the trails and
y'all ride around here in Bella Vista too,
we
right?
ride in Bella Vista. We ride Bentonville. We ride Rogers.
It's beautiful everywhere. It's amazing. You know, I've been gone for 20 years and just moved back a year and a half ago or so myself.
I bet you've seen some change.
It's it's crazy, but it's wonderful too. Just everything that they've done with all the trails, and like you said, from Rogers to Fayetteville, starting at Fayetteville, all the way up. So it's really cool to be back home, and I just wanted to get your perspective, and also Nancy's coming from other places, and it's interesting to see how people are reacting to all the nature.
I love it up here, and especially with the movement that food is especially taking as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people are understanding their food now. It's just they don't just go in the restaurant and order the same thing that they've eaten for the past 20 or 25 years.
Burger and fries and same old.
But they actually go in and they want to experiment with dishes. They want to experiment. They actually trust the kitchen to give them a good meal. So it's fun.
That's so cool. Well, it has been so wonderful having both of you here today, and I will be doing a cooking show in the coming months on Bella Vista TV. So when I do that, both of you will have to come back and we'll cook some food and talk some more education, and we'll make your haggis, which will be interesting. But thank you all for coming, and it's been great. Thank you, Bella Vista.
Remember, you can see this program on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at various times. You may also view this program on YouTube by going to Bella Vista TV. This has been a presentation of Bella Vista Community Television. Thank you for joining us.